Java arrays. So we're going to discuss arrays in Java, and we're going to see how they differ from other data types. So in Java, arrays are used to store multiple values in a single variable. That is, instead of declaring separate variables for each value, we can just declare an array, define the variable type, and then we put in multiple values. So let's look at the syntax for declaring an array in Java. So to declare an array in Java, you define the variable type with square brackets. So let's try to see here. So here we've declared an array that we've named cars. So in this array, the data type is a string. That means the values that we'll store in this array, their data type is string. So you need the data type and the name. You are naming your array. What's the name of your array? In this case, it's cars. And according to the syntax, you need the square brackets. Like this is the syntax for arrays in Java. So you need the data type, the square brackets, and the name for your arrays. So as you can see here, we are able to store in our array, we are able to store different values in it. In this case, we're dealing with cars. We're able to store different, like, cars in one variable that we declared as cars. So in one variable, we're able to store in different values. This is the advantage of arrays. So instead of saying, for example, you say string car1, maybe we'll store BMW. Let's say string car2, we'll store, let's say, Mazda. String car3, we'll store, let's say, Ford. To avoid that, you can just declare an array, and in one array you're able to store in a lot of values. Yeah, so I'm sure on arrays there it's clear and how they differ from other data types. We're saying in an array you are able to store in multiple values in a single variable, just like you can see here. And stick on to this syntax. This is how you can declare an array, declare and initialize an array in Java. So let's see how we can. Okay, we have another example below here with an array that can store integers. So as per the syntax, as always, we have the data type is int, which means it's for integers, and since it's an array, you need to have the square brackets, and you need to give a name to your array. And then we have assigned now the values. So we are able to now store different integers in one variable. Why? Because it's an array, it can store a lot of things. So I'm sure on that one it's not clear. But now let's see how we can access now the elements in our array. So the syntax. So firstly, let me do this. Let me first try to comment out this part, and then I'll go. Okay, yeah. So now let's see how we can access our elements, the elements in our array. So to access an element in an array, this is how you go about it. The syntax is the array name, and inside the square brackets you put in the position you want to access. So for example, in this case, if we want to access this first element in our array, if we want this to be printed out, for example, what we need is, so of course this is the syntax for printing out, you already know. Now if you want to print out this, you need the array name, which is cars, and the position. Now note something here. When the position doesn't start from 1, it starts from 0. So this is position 0, this is position 1, this is position 2, and this is position 3. Yeah, so here what is actually happening here is like in from the array cars we want out the first element which is at position 0 because it's from position 0. So if we run out this simple code, we expect the first element in our array to be printed out. So let's try to run the program and see what will happen. Okay, so just as expected, as you can see there, the first element has been printed out. And if we want to access the second element, we'll put 1 in here. So we'll put 1 in here. Sorry, let me try to put 1 in there. So we'll put 1 in there. Yeah, so if we put 1 in there, we expect BMW to be printed out. So let's see what will happen. Yeah, so as expected, we have BMW has been printed out there. So that's how you go about, like, that's how you access an element. But okay, let's see one thing here. If okay, of course, if you want to print out Ford, you need to put 2 because 0, 1, 2. If we want to change in our array, we want to change an element at a certain position we want to change that element with a different element. If you want to replace it, how are we going to go about it? So for now, okay, let me comment out this one as usual. So okay, so for example, if in our array cars, if I want to change the element in the first position, what I'll do is you need this, because this is the syntax for accessing the position as always. So this, we're trying to access the first position. If we had 1 here, it was going to mean accessing the second position. If 2, the third, just like that. So we're saying the first, in here we're saying the first position should be changed to this. So the element in the first position, we are changing it to this. So that's how you change the position, an element at a certain position. So let's see an example. Let's see an example below. So as usual, we have our string code cars that is able to hold these different values, and we're saying the first element here, we are now changing it. And let's see if we print out the first element in our array, it's not this that will be printed out now in this case, but rather this will be printed out. So let's try to run the program and see what will happen. So if I run the program, as you can see, the result is as we expected. The previous one has already been replaced by the new one, because here we're saying that the first element now should be, we have now assigned a different value to it. So yeah, that is how you go about replacing the value. Let's see how we can determine the length of our array. Let's see how we can determine the length of our array. So to determine the length of our array, there's already this is the syntax. You need the array name, then length. So for example, our array is called cars. So what will happen is we're saying arrays dot length. So this one will give us the length of our array. So let's demonstrate by running the code and see what's gonna happen. So we have 4. Why? Because we have 4 elements in our array. If we delete 1 from this, we'll expect it to give us 3 as the length of our array. So let's try to remove 1 element and run the program. We see. So if we run the program, as you can see, it's giving us 3. So everything is happening as we intended. Now let's quickly run into like Java array ropes, because we are able to access an element at a certain position. Now what if we want, let's say, to print out all the elements in an array? What can we do? So we can use a loop to loop through the array and print out all the elements. So for example, let me try to and comment this one as usual. Yeah, so here we're saying to remove some conflicts, let me comment out this. Yeah, okay, so here we have our array, this array. Now if we want to access all the elements in here, we can use for loop. If you don't have ideas about for loop, there's already a video that I did about for loop, so you can go back and watch it. I will provide a link in the description. You can usually tap on it and watch the video. So we can use a for loop to access all the elements in our array. So in this case, we have declared an integer I starting from 0, and we're saying that while I this variable is less than the char length, it should print out an element at each position. So I will move from 0 and it will be increasing. I is always being incremented. So firstly I is 0, as it will come here, position I here will be 0, it will print out this. Then I will be incremented. So when I will be incremented, the position we're now accessing is the second one, it will be printed out. I again will be incremented and the third element will be printed out, not until now I is equal to the length. Yeah, when I becomes equal to the length, it will now stop looping through the array, because the elements in the array, they all would have finished. If you really understand for loops, I'm sure this should be straightforward. Yeah, so let's try to run the program and see how everything is running. So as you can see, it has printed out all the elements in our array. And we can also, there's also another way of looping through this. Okay, wait, let me try to show something here, just a moment. So okay, so let me try to comment out this one. Let me try to comment out this, and so I want to show you another way of how we can use this. Okay, so let me do this one. Okay, let me just I'll delete most of the things here since we have written on them. So I'll just try to delete them, just a minute. Okay, I can just delete them here. Okay, so we can actually use the for each. We can use for each to also access the elements. So we can use for which is used exclusively to loop through elements in an array. So, and the syntax is you need the for keyword, the variable type, and then the array name. So let's jump into an example quickly and see how everything is going. So we have this array with us, string cars. So this is our array, the one we have always been working with, and then we're saying for string I in cars, print out I. So this one also will print out all the elements in this array. So if I try to run the program, you can see it has printed out all the elements there. So this is how you can use the for each to access all the elements in an array. So you need the for keyword, then the data type, and the array name. So we're saying for string I in cars, print out I. So this I here in this case it's referring to an element in the array. It's referring to an element in the array. So this will print out, or this loop will print out all the elements in the array. Actually, this is the simplest way to loop through the elements in an array, where just say for the data type, you mention the data type, then the array name, and you print out the element at position I. So in this case, I is already referring to the element. Here you don't need to do like we are doing, where you need to say first car, where you need to first say car, and then you put in the position in there. No, you don't need to do this. Why? Because you don't need to do this because when you are using the for each, this is the I already is referring to an element in the array. So I'm sure it is clear on this one. If there are any questions,